For you to hit record. Thank you so much. Welcome, Ottawa Toastmasters and guests. I love that you continue to ask me to come back and present to your club. It must be because I'm such an ebullient, ebullient, I can't pronounce it, but the word of the day, ebullient speaker. I have the energy. I am enthusiastic. I am there for Max. That's why he comes back. Tonight is all about how we can think on our feet faster, quicker, better. Table topics for our guests who are unfamiliar with the format of our Toastmasters clubs. Table topics is our opportunity to think on our feet, speak off the cuff. You're given 1 to 2 minutes for your time frame for you to come up with your opening body and conclusion for your speech for table topics. This year is exciting because your district is having the Table Topics contest, and we want you to be prepared. We want all of you to compete at that club level and then continue on in your progression and become your district winner of the Table Topics contest. But how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to start out by tickling your toes somehow. We're going to go over a 5-step formula for your success that you can use for table topics or any situation that you find yourself in that you need to come up with an answer right away. Then we are going to show you a little bit about the judge's ballot. As a table topics contestant, you are not being evaluated like you would normally be evaluated in a club presentation or at a club meeting. You are being judged, and there are specific criteria that you should be aware of. Then we're going to transition over into the 8 strategies. Although technically, if you are competing in the contest, there are only 7 that I want you to use. The different strategies on how you can answer table topics. Then we're going to do a little bit of practice, and we'll open it up for questions. After the presentation is done, I'll be sending you this entire presentation, and I have an additional appendix on this file so that you can see all the other insights of what is in my mind. I know it's scary, but it'll be okay. We practice throughout our life to build, develop, and perfect our skills and our talents. Whether it is music, sports, even cooking, whatever it may be. But why would we think that impromptu speaking should be any different? We can prepare to be an impromptu speaker. It's possible to be prepared and confident, even if we're not necessarily able to anticipate a question's content. And I want to share a 5-step formula for you to become a successful table topics respondent. Step number 1, I want you to listen and concentrate. A good response is dependent on an attentive attitude from you. Careful listening, it can provide part of your response. If you agree, your reply will actually reflect your attention by reinforcing the other person's words. And if you disagree, you can tactfully amend or correct that original statement. I just want you to be aware, do not interject your own ideas before the other person is finished talking. You want to make sure that you are focused on what is being said. Step number 2, I want you to pause. Pause before you begin to speak. Pausing just for 1 or 2 seconds. This is going to allow you to refresh your thoughts and begin to formulate an answer. You can use a pause at the beginning or in the middle of your response. It can add drama. It can allow the audience to be in suspense. What I just said there was not suspenseful, how I said it, but that's okay. But that pause, it allows your audience to absorb the message that you've shared, or it also gives them an opportunity to respond to something that you said was humorous. And of course, one of the areas that we all try to improve on, that pause is preferable to those verbal placeholders. I'm not sure what I want to say. Pause. Step number 3, confirm. You want to repeat or confirm the question out loud. By doing this, you're actually going to provide yourself with a clearer idea on how you are going to respond, and it can help verify the question or the topic that's being asked in case if you misunderstood the question. I do want to put a caveat on step number 3. If you are participating in that table topics contest, you are not going to be able to ask for the question to be repeated. So this is where it is extremely important for you to focus and concentrate on what is being asked. In that contest setting, you are introduced by your name, the question is repeated, and then your name again. So it is being given to you 2 times. So keep that in mind, please. Step number 4, tell them your answer. Be enthusiastic, be ebullient, but make sure that you stay focused and you stick to the essentials of that question. Do not be like Chris. Do not give into that urge to analyze every single aspect of that topic. All of those other little branches that you want to go off into, keep track of those. Put them on your list for future speech ideas. And then step number 5, I want you to end with a short summary. Once you've said what you want to say, don't belabor the point. Bring your comments to a close. Reemphasize your main point, smile, and make eye contact with your audience if you're in person, or with your camera lens if you are still on Zoom. That's it. That is my 5-step formula for success. Listen, pause, confirm, tell, end. All right, let's slide on over into table topics. I am hoping that you are ready for your club, your area, division, and district table topics contests. This is such a wonderful contest. Any member, as long as you are a paid member of an eligible club, you are able to compete in table topics. You do not have to have been a member for a certain amount of time. So our brand new members here who just joined in the last couple of months, you can compete in table topics. It's awesome. And even if you don't want to participate, you should try it. It's a wonderful experience. If you are competing, I want to go over a couple of ideas real quick for you to keep in mind though. This is the table topics judges ballot. I've been a member of Toastmasters just over 18 years. And in all of this time in Toastmasters, I have been chief judge, contest chair, contest master, timer, ballot counter, any part of that contest, I have been a part of it. And it still amazes me when I hear a contestant say that they did not know that they could see this judge's ballot. They did not know that there was an actual speech contest rule book. I've had some of the functionary roles, the judges, ballot counter, timers, say that they didn't know that they were allowed to read that rule book or review the contest judging ballots. The contest speech rule book, it is not a secret, folks. Every single one of you should be reviewing it every single year. I'm giving you my blessing to read and review that judge's ballot. You should become familiar with how you are going to be judged. Yes, judged, not evaluated on your response, and also to review that contest rule book. I'm going to step off of my soapbox now, and let's take a little bit deeper look into the ballot. And I'm going to explain it in the perspective of the judge who is filling out this form. What is the judge going to be watching, listening, and responding to when they hear your table topics response? The ballot is broken into several different sections. The first section is the content. The content is going to be 55% of that overall score. When we look at content, it's broken into speech development and effectiveness. And the judges are going to be looking at your structure of your 1 to 2 minute response. Did your response have a strong opening, body, and conclusion that was structured around a purpose? Organization. Was your speech organized and were you able to deliver it smoothly? And then the third part is support material. Did you provide any support material? Quotations, illustrations, facts, figures, statistics. I know it's table topics. You're not prepared. You may not have illustrations and facts and figures, but oftentimes you can pull something from the back of your head of a quotation or something else that triggers that support material for you. Effectiveness is part of that content. This is where the judge is looking for the directness. Did your speech directly relate to the given question or topic? There's achievement of purpose. Was your response clearly and logically presented? And then the audience response. Did the speaker hold the attention of the audience? The effectiveness can be a little wonky when it is the online Zoom contest. Oftentimes, all of the members in the audience are on mute. Some districts actually have all the attendees have their cameras off. This is a disadvantage if you are competing online. So then it's more of how did the judge respond? What was the judge's response in terms of audience response? The next part of that ballot is the delivery. 30% of your total score on the ballot is in regards to the delivery of your response. Delivery is broken out into 2 areas. We have physical and we have the voice. In regards to the physical, we have appearance. Did your appearance reinforce the speech? Was it profound, sad, humorous, instructional, etc., whatever it may be? The body language. Did your body language of your speech support the points that you were talking about? Did your gestures, expressions, and body positioning match the words you were saying? And then the speaking area. Did you use that assigned speaking area effectively? If you moved out of your assigned speaking area, did it affect that judge? So if I'm the judge, did it affect my ability to judge the speaker? And I do want to give an extra little explanation. When we were doing all in-person contests, frequently the speaking area would be defined as the actual stage that you presented from. A speaker could walk off the stage, come into the audience. That is an area that it is allowed, but a judge may mark you down if you step out of that speaking area. It's a misconception that it is a disqualifying factor for you. You can leave your speaking area, but it does not disqualify you. But the individual judge can decide if it was too distracting and it affected their ability to judge you, so they can mark you down. We then have the voice. Voice is all about that flexibility, rate, and volume. Was your voice modulation used effectively to emphasize a point? Your rate of speaking, was it very consciously to emphasize a point? Did you talk faster and higher because you're getting to that climax of your story and then, oh my gosh, you brought us down? And then the volume. Was the speaker audible enough to be understood? If they're in person and they're using a microphone, was it a distraction? If it's a handheld microphone, or if it was over the ear, was it a distraction? If it's online, do they have a clear enough audio or microphone that they are using on their laptop? And then the last part of the judge's ballot is in regards to the language. the appropriateness and the correctness of that response. When we talk about appropriateness, we're looking at the purpose. So was the response from that contestant fit for the occasion? And the audience, did the choice of words that the speaker gave, did it promote an understanding for the audience? And then we have correctness, grammar, pronunciation, word selection. Grammar, was the usage of your grammar correct and acceptable? Pronunciation, was your pronunciation or enunciation clear enough to promote understanding of your response? And then your word selection, did the choice of words that you use, were they related to the response? And I always give this extra little caveat on the grammar because this always comes up, or maybe because I purposely bring it up. If you are telling a story about your little nephew and he's 5 years old and he has to use the restroom, is he really going to come up to you and say, "Excuse me, Aunt Chris, I need to use the restroom, please. May I be excused?" No, a 5-year-old boy normally is not going to talk like that. He's going to say, "Oh my God, Auntie Chris, I got to go potty really, really bad now. Please, 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 please." Going potty is probably not the best use of grammar and not correct, but it is the correct and acceptable way of how a 5-year-old would talk. Keep that in the back of your mind as you are thinking about your response as well. All right, let's move on into this. I know this is what you've all been waiting for. The 8 strategies to successfully answer table topics. Are we ready? Yes, we are ready. All right. As we go through my 8 strategies here, I'm going to use one specific question, and then I will give the example of how it can be, how each strategy can be used to answer the same question. When I say we, even though it's just me telling you what these strategies are, we will go through, depending on how we have our timing. I have specific questions related for each strategy that we'll practice. And then when we get into the regular table topics time frame, we will go in. I have a list of questions, and you can choose whatever strategy you would like to try. And then everyone else in attendance will do a quick guess of what strategy they thought that you used. My example question here for table topics for the 8 strategies, and you'll remember this probably from the first session. What brand toothpaste do you recommend and why? Strategy number 1. Express your opinion. Boom. State your opinion, then justify it with your supporting statement. Here's my answer. I use Crest toothpaste. Ever since I can remember brushing as a little girl, it has been Crest toothpaste in my house. In grade school, I remember we had dental hygiene week, and we would get a new Crest toothbrush, we would get a small tube of Crest toothpaste, and we'd get these little tiny pink pills. And it was meant that after you brushed your teeth, you chewed this pill, and anywhere that there was still pink showing on your teeth, that showed where the plaque was that you missed. I got pretty good at brushing, and I did not have a single cavity until I was a teenager. Not too bad for me using Crest toothpaste, and that's why I recommend it. Strategy number 1, express your opinion. Strategy number 2 is to identify 1, 2, maybe 3 at the absolute most key ideas, or you can agree or disagree with the idea. An example, what brand toothpaste do you recommend and why? I remember, this was a difficult one. My mom, she would agree with using Crest, just like I said before. But my dad, he disagreed with it. He thought baking soda was just enough, get your teeth clean. He didn't want to address the issue of bad breath because the baking soda didn't take care of that. But I was, as a kid, you listen to your parents, but who do you side with, mom or dad? So you identify your key idea, and then if you want, agree or disagree with an idea. This does sound very familiar and goes along with strategy one of stating your opinion. Strategy number 3, the past, the present, and the future. This is how you would frame your response. When I was a kid, I did this. As a teenager or as an adult, I do this. And when I'm old and, well, I'd say old and gray, but I already am, older and more eld and wise, I'll do this. You can use this one especially effectively when you are in work situations. Last year's report showed us this. This year we added da 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 da. And next year, with even more resources, we can do this. So past, present, future. And my question, answering it, what brand toothpaste do you recommend and why? As a kid, Crest all the way. That's the only option that I had. As a teenager, I switched to Mentadent. My sisters had moved out and they got to buy their own toothpaste. Mentadent, you got to push down a little pump and it came out 2 different colors of your toothpaste melded together into one. And now as an adult, I'm very frugal. I buy AIM, 89 cents a tube. No cavities since I've started using it, and it's gotten rid of my sensitivity on my teeth. Past, present, future. Strategy number 4. This is where you can relate the topic to something you know. Whether it's a book you may have read, a TV show or a movie you've watched, maybe you just read a news article, something happened at work. Do you have any hobbies or passions? Relate your response to something you already know. My example question, what brand toothpaste do you recommend and why? Have any of you heard of the book The Killing Floor by Lee Child? I must have read this book for the first time at least 20 years ago and fell in love with Jack Reacher. And it was interesting because this character, he always walked everywhere, he hitchhiked, whatever it may be, but all that he carried with him was passport, cash, clothes on his back, shoes on his feet, and a toothbrush in his pocket. He explained in the book that you really don't need toothpaste, just some water and you brush up and down and side to side and you're good to go. Relate to something you know, strategy 4. Strategy number 5, bring your family into your answer. By bringing in some of the family part of your answer, you can create that emotional connection with your audience. You can build characters up. It helps to facilitate dialogue. You can tell a story much easier. And if you have pets, I know a lot of people have fur babies instead of human babies. Bring them on into your story. Quick example here. Growing up, I was the youngest of 5 kids. We had 7 people in one bathroom. And oftentimes we would have relatives who came into the house, sometimes up to 15 people living in our house, one bathroom. And we all used Crest. Mom, she was a thrifty shopper. She had coupons and she watched for the sales. She could get up to 10 tubes of Crest toothpaste for 10 cents. She was that good. Oh, she was amazing. Bring family into your answer. Strategy 5. Strategy 6, pros and cons, or the cause and effect. This is why I like Crest. This is why I don't like Crest. Pros and your cons. Strategy number 7, acknowledge the question and then answer something else. Oftentimes we may not know what the answer is, what the question even is. And in a regular Toastmasters club setting, you can acknowledge that question and then answer something else. But in a contest, do not use this strategy because this goes against the judging criteria. Did you respond directly to the question? So do not use strategy number 7. And I will reiterate, all 8 of the strategies in just a moment. Thank you. And our last strategy, if all else fails and you are stumped for an answer, just be like one of those politicians. Lie. This is table topics. It's okay to make up an answer. Truthfulness is not a requirement. This does allow you to be creative and have some fun. All right. A couple other things to quickly keep in mind. Be confident. Remind yourself that pausing is okay. Restating the question will help steady your response. Be confident. I also want you to be brief. It is so easy to stray off topic and begin repeating statements, adding new points, backtracking. Stick to your main points and stay on time. And then be sincere in your answer. Try to be inventive when you don't know how to answer a question. It can be risky, but be yourself as you are answering. All right. These are our 8 different strategies. Express your opinion, identify 1 to 3 key ideas, past, present, future, relate to something you already know, bring family into your answer, pros and cons. Number 7, we're going to skip over here of acknowledge and answer something else. And number 8 is to lie. This technically is the end of the presentation because I am at the red. So I am going to end the presentation here, and we are actually going to segue right away into our table topics tonight because we are going to put you on the spot. How does that sound? All right, Eric, he gave me a thumbs up there. So let me just change my background. So we're going to make this easy for you and you can see all those strategies right away. All right, take a deep breath. Let it out. Breathing, that's always another good tip. The way I like to do table topics, I like to give the question, scenario, situation, so everyone can begin to formulate an answer. And then I will ask for a volunteer. And if I don't get a volunteer within 3 seconds, I will volunteer. Just fair warning here. In a table topics contest, if you are not familiar, everyone gets the exact same question. In our club setting, everyone gets something different. So in that contest, everyone is sent out of the room except the first contestant, because it would be unfair if everyone got to hear the question and had extra time to prepare. First contestant speaks during the minute of silence while the judges are tallying their counts. Then the next speaker is brought into the room, and so on. Once the contestant has finished speaking, they get to stay in the room and hear all of the following responses. All right, so our first table topics question. We are going to have the strategy number 1, express your opinion. I'm going to read it, and I don't know if any of you have ever seen these little table talk cards. There we go, table talk cards. They're pre-written questions with a little bit of detail on them, so I used those last night when I was preparing for this. All right, listen up. The Declaration of Independence proclaims America's freedom from British rule. Although adopted on July 4th, 1776, it was not signed until August 2nd. The first signature was John Hancock's. He wrote his name especially large so King George III, who had poor vision, could read it without using his spectacles. Do you usually feel nervous or excited when you're first at something? Do you usually feel nervous or excited when you're first at something? Eric, you're smiling too much. You get the first question and you're using strategy number 1, express your opinion.
Thank you very much, esteemed Table Topics Master. I do feel quite nervous when I'm usually the first at something. One scenario that comes to mind is right now. I do feel a little nervous trying out a technique that is perhaps not one that would be my default, but I feel like while it is making me feel nervous, it is also making me feel other things. It's making me feel first nervous, then excited, perhaps fueling some learning at the same time. I also remember feeling nervous when I tried playing hockey for the very first time. My brother, my twin brother, decided to sign up for house league hockey when we were 8 years old. My parents asked me if I wanted to play, and I said nope, I don't want to do it. I'm not sure. Then I watched my brother do it for about 6 months, and then quickly realized that I wanted to follow suit as well. So I was nervous to be first. In that situation, I decided to not, and I let my brother plunge on in, and he had 6 months of fun that I missed out on because I didn't sign up right away. So, Madam Table Topics Master, I do feel nervous when I am the first one to take something on, but I often regret it if I miss the opportunity. So, back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you for being brave as my first volunteer. Max, question for you, but not as part of the table topics. I know you're timing the overall table topics portion. Are you also timing the individual timer, individual speakers, 1 to 2 minutes?
I was
Green
doing
at-
it in total. I wasn't doing it for a table topic.
Okay, we should do the individual table
Okay,
topic.
for sure.
Green at 1 minute, yellow at 1.5, and red at that 2 minute. Thank you for
Perfect.
Thank you for letting me clarify.
Thank you.
All right, our next question. The respondent is going to use strategy number 2. Identify 1 to 3 key ideas. And I'm looking down because I'm reading. One of the world's first newspapers was Acta Diurna, Daily Acts, published in ancient Rome around 59 BC. In Renaissance Europe, handwritten private newsletters passed along information about business, war, and even gossip. Today, many people get news from TV and the internet as well as newspapers. Where do you usually get your news? Where do you usually get your news? Liz.
Wow, I was really hoping you would ask me this question because news was on my mind today. I actually haven't, just because of like through the pandemic and how we were bombarded with a lot of news through that time, I've actually limited my viewing of that. Also, social media, I've turned most of that off. So a lot of my news, the one thing I don't turn off is Toastmasters. So like Toastmaster magazine, I read all of that and a few things there. So I guess, I mean, that's one key idea is Toastmasters. Toastmasters helps even for news. I also learn a lot of interesting things, stories, how to speak off the cuff in tonight's meeting. I've learned quite a few ideas already for that. And so I guess, I mean, the other point is that, I mean, you could choose to go and view different news articles or TV news, or if you want, you can also turn that off. Word of mouth. I do get a lot of news too from family members and such. And I can see that I'm already out of time, so I'm going to hand it back.
Thank you so much, Liz. Only thing missing from your response was that quick little wrap up. Toastmasters and the clubs and the word of mouth. All right, our next question and strategy will be past, present, and future. Singer Rudy Valley got a melodious gift on his birthday in 1933. He received the first singing telegram ever delivered. Kentucky Fried Chicken founder Harlan Sanders had a record breaking birthday when he turned 89. The Colonel's Party in Louisville, Kentucky attracted 35,000 well wishers. What is the best birthday celebration you have ever had? What is the best birthday celebration you have ever had?
I'll do it.
All right, Kinman.
The best birthday celebration I've ever had. To be honest, when we were growing up in Hong Kong, we didn't have much of a celebration. So the only time I remember was coming home one day and my mom, who was very busy working in a factory and was hardly ever home, and that night she was home and she had made me noodles because for some people of Chinese descent, eating noodle is the right way to celebrate a birthday because noodle can be very, very long and that signified longevity. So that was the past. You can see that there was not too much memory associated with that, but that stuck out in my mind, my mom making me something special. And recently, though, I had a fantastic birthday celebration. In fact, it was a very long celebration. It was not really during my birthday, but it was after, because my brother said all my family live in California, and he said, come down and visit when you can, and I did in July, and he said he would celebrate my birthday. So what he did was that every single day we would go out somewhere nice for a walk. It could be in San Francisco, it could be somewhere closer to where he lived. And after that nice walk, and we would go to a nice restaurant, and I must say some of those restaurants in San Francisco were fantastic. So that was a very nice birthday celebration experience. And in the future, I plan to do that again. So back to you, Chris.
Wonderful. Thank you for that ebullient response. I love it. I will be celebrating my birthday by having my first Pathways DTM submitted and my fourth DTM overall this Sunday, the 8th. That's how I am celebrating. All right, let's do number 4 strategy. Relate to something you know. How are we doing on the overall time?
Unfortunately, I only have one device to do the time, so I'm assuming we're doing very well. Let's just
Okay.
put it like that.
Okay, perfect. We'll keep going here.
Okay.
All right. Strategy number 4, relate to something you know. The Jobs Related Almanac ranked website manager as the best career, followed by the job of actuary. That's the person who calculates risk for an insurance company. And I have no idea how old this question is. Other top jobs are software engineer, mathematician, and computer programmer. Lumberjack, dancer, construction worker, and cowboy were ranked among the worst. What would be the best job for you? What would be the best job for you? Using the strategy, relate to something you know. Jeff, would you like to try this one?
Certainly, I'd be happy to give this one a try. So it was interesting when you mentioned that the top 2 jobs noted on your card without knowing the time period were actuary and website manager. I'm a product manager for a software company, so I can somewhat understand some of those careers like software engineer and website manager. What I noticed about those 2 strategies, or rather those 2 jobs, were that one is very technical in nature. An actuary is actually not very artistic. It's very hard numbers and mathematics, whereas a website manager kind of combines technical aspects and some artistic aspects. And I think that a product manager like myself is very similar in that way. So I'm one of those very fortunate people who maybe has the ideal job for themselves, in that I do enjoy mixing the aspects of the technical and maybe the more artistic sides of managing software products. When you went through the list of the other best jobs, I noticed things like dancer and software engineer. So there is a real mix there. And I find it interesting that in some cases you have very mathematical and statistical jobs, and in other cases you have very purely artistic jobs. So for me personally, the best job is something that combines the two, and that seemed to be a little bit underrepresented in your list, although one of the top items. So I thought that was a really interesting takeaway. And again, I feel very fortunate to have a job that gets to mix both of those things. Thank you. Back to you.
Wonderful. Well answered. All right. Next one is going to be using the strategy bring family into your answer. Our scenario. Birds and crickets are kept as pets in Japan. The Inuit people of northern Canada take in bear cubs and seal pups. Abraham Lincoln tamed a pet turkey named Jack. The Roman Emperor Nero had a tiger he called Phoebe. Calvin Coolidge domesticated a donkey named Ebenezer. What is the most unusual pet you have ever had? What is the most unusual pet you have ever had? Samson, would you like to try this?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
The unusual pet I ever had was bird. Usually I have cat and dog, but when my dad come at home with this in French Jaco, and I say, what? For who is this bird? He said it's for us, and say, okay, but it was for the birthday of my sister, and it was for her gift, and it was a beautiful gift, and she was really excited by this beautiful bird, and it was one of the best friend of my sister, and I know she was like this beautiful gift. And thank you very much, and that's it.
Thank you so much. I love it. I don't know if this counts as an unusual pet, but I had two older brothers. My mom decided that's all we needed in our house. All right, our next strategy, pros and cons. In 1938, Action Comics introduced Superman, the first superhero. He had X-ray vision, superhuman strength, and the ability to fly. Superman number 75, the comic book issue in which the villain Doomsday kills Superman, has sold more than 6 million copies since its 1992 publication. If you could be empowered with one superhuman ability, what ability would you choose and why? If you could be empowered with any superhuman ability, what ability would you choose and why? Nobody wants to volunteer here. Guess that means, Janet, you get to tell us about a superhuman ability, pros and cons.
Thank you, Madam Tabletop Picks Master. A superhuman ability. I, for the longest time, thought that I would like to be able to read people's minds. And as I got older, I realized I'm sure I don't want to know what people are thinking. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. I don't know. I think that for me, I would like to have X-ray vision. That would be a very helpful feature to have. I could go someplace and I would know if there was danger. I would know if someone had a weapon. I would be able to help the TSA when I'm flying. And I could say, hey, that's not really little pumpkins in that person's carry-on. Those are really grenades or something of that nature. I just think that would be kind of fun. I might get tired of it after a while if people tried to use me as a party trick, but I just think that would be fun, is to have X-ray vision. Thank you for the opportunity to answer that question.
Thank you, Janet, and I will not invite you to my next party. All right. And the last strategy is lie, because we're skipping number 7, because if we are in that contest, we do not answer something else. So technically number 8 strategy, lie. Captain James Cook's voyages to the South Pacific led him to discover the Hawaiian Islands in 1778, which he named the Sandwich Islands. His voyages were also remarkable because the crew remained in good health. Cook's insistence on proper diet greatly reduced the cases of scurvy on board his ship, the Endeavour. One of Cook's favorite dishes was parrot pie. What is the most unusual food you have ever eaten? What is the most unusual food you have ever eaten? All right, let's have a volunteer this time. Don't make me call on you. 3, 2, 1. All right, Banda. Lie to us. What is the most unusual food you have ever eaten?
And I have to lie.
You don't have to, but that's what we're expecting. We don't, we're not.
So, the most unusual recipe that I have had was in an island in middle of the ocean, and it was a mixture of the seawater and some fruits, very exotic fruits with different tastes, and the taste really didn't match. So it was a very strange and new taste for me. That's it.
All right, thank you so much. Those are our strategies. Hopefully, you picked up on 1 or 2 of them that you think is going to be your go-to strategy. Max, how are we doing overall? I don't have a regular agenda.
Given that each case is approximately 2 minutes, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're at approximately around 13 minutes overall.
All right, so let's do 2 more. And this time I'll give the situation, the question, and then you get to pick whatever strategy you want to use to answer it. All right. All right. Darren already kind of covered that one. Here, this is a really neat one. With the possible exception of the spiny anteater, all mammals sleep. The average human infant sleeps 16 to 18 hours a day, and the average adult sleeps 7 to 8 hours per day, or about 1/3 of every day. How would your life be different if you did not have to sleep? How would your life be different if you did not have to sleep? Assad, would you like to attempt this one?
I'll be more than happy. I'm using the mobile. Yes, if I no sleep, my life will be different. I will go to all the places in the world, Africa, Asia, look and help all the people who need help, encourage them to develop themselves, grow more rice, grow more food, less fighting, less wars, have good family life, empower the women. All of this requires time. So I have no time to sleep. I have to do all this work. And it's very much, too much. But I can do it like a Superman. Superman can do it. If Superman can do it, then I can do it. So I wish all of you to do something small in your community. Think of Superman every time and sleep well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. What strategy do you think he applied? Type it in the chat or take yourself off mute and shout it out. Okay, excellent, excellent.
I don't know what strategy I used.
All right. For me,
It
I
just
felt
came
that
from my mind.
Okay, I felt you expressed your opinion. That nice, straightforward that way.
Agreed.
All right, we're going to do one more. And again, pick your own strategy. Called the father of modern philosophy, Frenchman René Descartes was a 17th century thinker, mathematician, and scientist. In 1620, Descartes came up with his most famous statement, I think, therefore I am. This thought occurred to him as he warmed himself by a stove while serving in the military in Germany. Where is your favorite place to think? Where is your favorite place to think? Andrea.
Fellow Toastmasters, if Descartes says, I think, therefore I am, that makes me question what a flower feels and believes, and does a flower think, therefore it is? And if a flower was to write some poetry about itself, where would it go to ponder how to express itself? Well, I'm going to imagine I'm a flower. Where's a nice, comfortable place that I want to be so that I can bloom my train of thought, so that I can express myself clearly and to capture my ideas succinctly. For myself, I like to go to a quiet place that is comfortable with soft mood lighting and undisturbed nature. I don't like to have a radio playing in the background. I don't like music or sounds from the house or a cell phone near me. I prefer no distractions when I want to think. So the best place I go is upstairs in my home, where I'm sitting right now at a desk by myself. And my husband with his electric guitar and multiple pedals is downstairs, enjoying himself but not interrupting my personal time. I think when you're going to think, the best way, the most expressive way, and the most heartfully, you need to, like a meditation, be by yourself, feel comfortable, and just let the ideas flow. Let them bloom, let them spread, and then capture it down on paper or on a computer. So fellow Toastmasters, like Descartes, I think, therefore I am. Am I a flower? Do I want to bloom? How do I best want to express myself? Solitude, peace and quiet, subdued lighting, by myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrea. That is the end of our table topics. That is the end of my workshop. And that is the end of me talking here today. And I'm going to return control back to our Toastmaster, Eric.